This is the 46 of 46 podcast Summit Sessions, where we'll talk all things Adirondack, backcountry, and beyond. From high peak stories and adventures to trail tips and tricks, we'll dive deep into the heart of these mountains and the people who passionately climb them. Adirondack maps and spruce traps, bushwhacks and backpacks. It's all here on the 46 of 46 Summit Sessions. Hey everyone, it's James and I'm back with another Summit Session this week here on the 46 of 46 podcast. With all the constant chatter around the internet and the social media pages regarding everything going on in the outdoors community and around here in the Adirondack Park, ranging from trail overuse, erosion, parking problems, and everything else in regards to the surge of people retreating to the outdoors, both nationwide and here in the Adirondacks, I felt it was time to dedicate an episode solely to the discussion. And since the ADK is as big as it is, and being such a unique and accessible outdoors paradise that it is, along with the fact that it's a mere one-day drive away from over 60 million people in the US and Canada, it's not hard to realize why visitors are flocking to the Blue Line. With the increased amount of people seeking quality time in the great outdoors, from hiking to camping to paddling to mountain biking to hunting to fishing and so much more, it's clear things have changed, and maybe it's time for the ADK to evolve with that change. My guest this week has seen more of the Adirondack Park in the Northeast than most people could ever dream of, spending nearly all of his time off trail. He's a friend of the show and he's been on here before. His name is Erik Schlimmer. If you go back to Summit Session number 3, you can learn all about the amazing things Erik has done, mostly all of which involving off-trail adventures. But I have him back this week because, like myself, he grew up in the ADK and he brings a unique and experienced thought process to the entire conversation regarding all of the issues surrounding this 6 million acres state park. Well, without further ado, Mr. Erik Schlimmer, welcome back to the 46 of 46 podcast, and thanks for coming on the show again.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me back. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's always a true pleasure to speak with you, given your extensive backcountry experience nationwide, and being an ADK native like myself makes it even better. So like most Adirondack people, sooner or later, they all end up moving out west to Colorado, which you did last year. And then I know just yesterday you finished backpacking the Rainbow Trail. So real quick, tell us about that trail and how was that experience for you?
Yeah, well, you're correct on both accounts. People do 2 trips out west, 1 for vacation and 2 back east to grab all their stuff.
Totally.
That's generally how it works, and that's how it worked with me as well. But yes, over the last 4 days, I hiked this trail nobody's very familiar with, even here in Colorado. It's called the Rainbow Trail. It's named so because it makes a sweeping arc around the mighty Sangre de Cristo Mountains. It's 100 miles long, and I think of it kind of like the little sister of the Colorado Trail and the Continental Divide Trail out here. But it was wonderful. My trip totaled 103 miles, almost 20,000 vertical feet, and the entire time I saw 14 people. And that's quite a claim. I mean, to be in Colorado during peak fall foliage, and I'm seeing about 1 person every 10 miles, can't beat that.
Yeah, totally. Sounds awesome. What was your? Let me guess. I bet your pack weighed under 10 pounds.
I would presume so. I used to actually take the time to weigh all my gear, and that's kind of how I got into long distance hiking. Now I just throw stuff in a pack, but I don't throw much in. I'm guessing it was 9 or 10 pounds, and of course that's all my gear, including the pack, but not counting food and water.
Okay, sure, not counting food and water. Oh, what's your sleep setup when you're out there?
Well, I've changed things up. And we may have talked about this last time I was on. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm getting softer or smarter. And maybe it's a little bit of both. So my old style would be, oh, God, I can't bring an extra ounce. So I'll bring an inadequate sleeping bag. And then I'll just throw on all my clothes and my rain jacket. And if it's not raining, I'll put my tarp in the sleeping bag. And then if I get cold in the middle of the night, I'll eat. And it was just ridiculous. It was too hardcore. So now what I do, I bring a sensible sleeping bag like a normal person would. So the lows it was actually kind of warm. The lows ranged between 48 and 33. And I had a brand new, wonderful plush Western Mountaineering 20-degree bag. And it's just great to be hiking out for the day and know that I'm going to get a good night's sleep. Where again, in the past, I'm hiking all day and not looking forward to going to bed because I know I was going to freeze in the name of a couple measly ounces. It was just so dumb. So I just bring the sleeping bag. And we have, of course, extensive pine forests out here. It's nice and cushy ground. So I don't even bring a sleeping pad.
Okay, there you go. Nice. Yeah, so that definitely keeps it light. Yeah, you got to get good night's sleep out there. I mean, we're already putting ourselves in a lot of discomfort by doing any sort of backpacking.
Mm-hmm.
So getting that important sleep element is definitely crucial. 100%.
Yes, I used to, again, not look forward to the night. Now I let out a euphoric groan when I get into my sleeping bag.
Totally. We can all relate to that one. I let out that same groan as soon as I take my boots off and put Crocs or sandals on. It's just that is the moment that I am at total peace with the world.
Yes, indeed.
So I brought you on this episode because I wanted to have the discussion in podcast form that I'm constantly seeing on the internet about, everybody flocking to the outdoors right now, not just in the ADK, but nationwide. 2020 is a unique year. There's really nothing else to do. There's no sporting events and concerts and events and whatnot. So what is there to do? Well, hiking's pretty much free, in general. So clearly that's what's happening. But so a lot of people are going all over the place, and that continues to bring up the conversation here in the Adirondacks about trail overuse, and that word gets thrown around like I've never seen before. It's thrown around a lot. So I'm just going to ask you your opinion, flat out, fact or fiction. Is the Adirondacks overused? Are the trails overused? What is your opinion on this subject?
Well, I would immediately say no, but that's based on my definition of overuse. And you and I have talked about this before. When somebody says the words, for example, crowded or overuse or a lot, I still don't know what that means. And I've been asking people, can you specifically give me a number where, let's say at 1,500 users a day is 50, that's okay, but is 1,501 crowded? And nobody's been able to expand on this. They just use these vague adjectives, and I don't really know what they mean. I haven't a clue, and I'm not trying to play dumb. I just don't understand what people say when they say a lot or overcrowded or overused. But I will tell you this, since we're talking about subjective definitions, and I think we're in agreement on this. So we'll take the infamous case of Cascade Mountain. People love to talk about Cascade Mountain and how many people hike it. And that's where we hear these terms, oh my God, it's crowded, oh, it's overused, et cetera, et cetera. My thought is, if I'm aware that Cascade Mountain is going to be crowded and I don't I should take that back. If I know that there is going to be a certain number of hikers on Cascade Mountain, let's say there's going to be 100 or 200 or 300 per day on a nice sunny fall weekend, I don't really like that. So I'll simply go hike somewhere else. Problem solved. I mean, how simple and quick was that?
So easy.
It's very easy. If you don't like being around many other people, then you can hike somewhere else. But what's very fascinating is somebody will know that Cascade Mountain is going to have a lot of hikers, whatever that may mean to each individual person. And then they will hike Cascade Mountain, and then they'll get on the internet and whine about it was crowded. And I like giving alternate examples of this thought process. So let's say that you met a person and they have three things that they just hate. They don't like these three things. And if you were to combine all three at once, forget it. They're going to have a really miserable time. What they hate are men with long hair, and they hate tattoos, and they hate loud noises. And so you say, what are you going to do this weekend? And they come back with I'm going to a Slipknot concert.
I had a feeling that you were going to take
Yeah,
us to a
I
metal
mean,
show on this
if
conversation.
you don't like if you don't like men with long hair and tattoos and loud noises, hey, how about this? Don't go to a Slipknot concert.
It's so easy. It's so easy.
Problem solved.
So now for yourself, you being, it's constantly, that is just, people are just saying overuse, overuse, overuse. It's just thrown around so much. And I have the same thought process as you have, which is, well, what is that? If it's not stopping you and it's not stopping the troves of people going hiking, I guess we can't really say that that is an issue. So for you being, you're always off trail, how would you, and you're not seeing people, so to say the Adirondacks are overused, you're definitely not running into people when you're out here hiking, because you are out in God's country away from everybody. How would you encourage somebody to explore the use of hiking off trail if they don't want to be around all these people, and maybe in an effort to get them to go adventure on their own, and then they won't have this issue that seems to upset them because everyone has to post about it on social media instead of just being upset about it and carrying on with your day? It's like it doesn't count until they post about it on social media. How do you encourage someone to kind of get into off-trail travel? What would be the steps to doing that?
Right. And it depends, how much anguish these people have about
they're
seeing
filled with anguish. They are filled, dude.
That's what and to be honest, I haven't looked. I just don't think I have. Well, one, I don't have the time. I have more important things to do. But yes, a couple of people have told me, like, Eric, if you go on, it's just a bunch of nonsense, and people just kind of say things without evidence. And they go, Eric, it's not for you to go researching what everybody's so upset about it. But through the grapevine, I hear people are quite bent out of shape in some instances. So it depends what they want to do. I mean, and it would, I guess, the best way to put it, it would occur on varying levels of how much wildness you want. So if you're turned off by people being on Cascade, you could simply go up Poca Moonshine or St. Regis or something like that. Okay, maybe you're going to see 10% of the people right off the bat. Okay, let's say you still aren't liking seeing people. Well, now you can visit maybe a remote pond or a river. I mean, everybody loves the mountains, but there are plenty of bodies of water out there where you're not going to see anybody. And if that's still too much, you're a real misanthrope and you really want to get away from others, yeah, off-trail travel is the way to go. And you're right, when I was bushwhacking a lot in the Northeast, rarely did I see people. So the example I give people is I climbed every 3,000 foot peak in the Northeast, and there are 770, and 420 have no trails to their tops. During those 420 peaks, I saw 6 people. And that was during a decade. So a decade of hiking 420 mountains, I saw 6 people. So of course, solitude is guaranteed. Now, how to get in it, because your more astute listeners know that bushwhacking, there's not even a learning curve. I was going to say it's a short learning curve. It's just trails to nothing is a pretty big deal and a very big change. And some people feel overwhelmed, or they simply don't have the talent. So what they could do is just start with a simple hike, maybe in a section of the Adirondacks that's known for being open, like any place in the Adirondacks. So that would be the Eastern Adirondacks, has burned over in the past. So now you have these beautiful open woods. You can kind of see where you're going. You don't have this brush in front of your face all day. You could be maybe just a half mile, a mile off road. And that's what I did when I started traveling off trail in the 1980s. I was very fortunate. My neighbor was a DEC forest ranger, Mike Hagedorn, since deceased. And Mike was known for being an excellent navigator. He was a Vietnam veteran. And we just got to talking, and he taught me how to travel off trail when I was 13. And it was just so cool. And we kind of did what I'm saying right now, is we just kind of started off small. He was my mentor. He showed me what to do. So the point is, I guess, 2 things here is, one, there are places off trail that are not particularly challenging, not particularly remote. They're kind of friendly to beginners. and you will be totally hooked up. You will be